Village of North Bennington Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, July 9, 2013. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes of June 11 and June 25th, and actually June 26th. I'll entertain a motion.
We're doing them one at a time, I assume?
Yeah, let's do June 11, the normal meeting.
I will move to accept the June 11th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
June 25 was to clean up the end of the year finance.
I just had one on that. I assume the, under highways, Lori? It's a 75-cent raise, not a 75% raise, right?
That's right.
Okay, if that was the case, I was gonna apply.
Well, 0.75%, isn't so much.
Right. So we just cross off the percent.
I will entertain a motion as amended.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then on the following day, we had an emergency meeting regarding some information that came about regarding the Bank Street project. And the minutes are here.
I will move to accept the June 26th emergency meeting minutes.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The July warrant? David, you said you had some questions about that?
Yeah, Lori, I gave you an invoice from Mark Westner for $500 at our last meeting. Did that get
That was
paid in?
paid last month.
That got paid in the end of the month?
But yeah, that was paid in June.
Okay. And the other one has, Tim Smith submitted an invoice for some,
That was paid last month as well.
you got that too? Okay.
It's hard
I
to
don't keep
stump her.
copies of the warrant, so I...
It's hard to stump her. Any other questions?
When do we get a raise?
Who got a raise?
I said, when do we?
Oh,
$100 every 6 months doesn't go far. I'm getting hungry.
it's dinner. Once or twice. Motion?
Move we accept the warrant.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Payroll warrant for June. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
No.
I will move to accept the payroll warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It's not gonna get any cooler in here, is it? Citizens' comments next. George, you wanna go first?
That's all right. Just, remember about 6 weeks ago, we had a report to you about the rail progress, and at the evening, that evening, I mentioned that there was an excellent photograph that was taken of the depot. Gary Knapp did this, and I have written, I got one for everybody, I think, up there, except Janice. She doesn't need it, she needs it on the computer. And this goes with the picture, but this is the picture that I'd like to present to the trustees tonight. This is a picture of the depot, and to thank the trustees for making the depot open that night. The result is this most unusual picture in the story of having a deluxe dome car in this town. And if you read the story, it tells how Garrison Keillor foresaw this happening in Lake Wobegon. And it turned out Lake Wobegon wasn't Lake Wobegon, but North Bennington. So the Empire Builder came down and so that spent the night here. So this is
That's fantastic.
And,
Is there a possibility the camera can see that?
Maybe if we took, let's take the plastic off if we can.
So it's an unusual night shot, and I think more than anything, just the fact that the building's lit up at night makes it so. So I thank you for the opportunity of doing that. And that's
George,
all
I really
had.
appreciate that. We'll hang this in a prominent location in this room if we can find some
Okay,
wall
thank
space. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, this is better than the ones, you know.
Oh, that is clear, isn't it?
Yeah. Real deal.
Well, I've seen it.
You seen this?
I've seen it, yeah.
Norm, what do you think? Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
Something you can take care
you
of
could use
for
a
us?
decorator to rearrange the pictures. They could be grouped, yeah.
Hold it up for one time for me. Could you hold it for one of the camera one more time, please?
Maybe over here.
Well, I'd group these
Take it to the
three
back of the picture.
together.
Okay.
The four of them.
Peggy,
Okay.
you're up.
I'll be over his mantle at home.
I'm up about the tree on the property next door. I mean, I honestly don't know whose jurisdiction it is, but it keeps shedding limbs. I've called CVPS before it was Green Mountain, and apparently, well, there was another last Monday night, there was another branch that just came down, I think because of all the rain and the tree's age and everything, and a 16-inch branch came down, or 16-inch, I think, by the trunk came down, went across the road, the power was knocked out. I called 911 because I knew the power lines were down. And I honestly don't know what the resolution of this is. I did leave a message Tuesday morning for Jeff Buck. He and Amy own the property. And Amy called me later on that afternoon, and she said that Jeff had been in touch in the past with CVPS, and I had given him the information. I don't know what the resolution is, but it doesn't seem cost-effective on any level to have Green Mountain Power coming in and spending 4 or 5 hours dealing with the downed lines. It doesn't seem to be cost-effective for the crew to come out. And
No, that was
if
an
it-
expensive job for them that night.
Yeah,
having-
I'm
living
sure
right
it
across the
was.
street, and
I'm sure it was, and
30 or
actu-
2 o'clock before they were done.
Yeah, we went to bed at midnight, so I know that it was later than that. But my concern is that, and so far, we've been very lucky. Nobody's gotten killed. No property damage has ensued. But that street gets a tremendous amount
Yeah.
of vehicles on it. It gets a lot of late-night traffic, pedestrian traffic all times of the night and day. And I lost my power till, I think, probably noon the following day. I had to go to work in the morning.
Because it tore the meter right off your bill.
It tore the
off your
meter off
house.
my house.
Yeah.
So I had to call Hathaways. They came in the morning and they did hook it up very promptly, but then, of course, Green Mountain had to come and hook it up.
Yeah.
But it keeps shedding limbs.
We have had trees in the village that have been less of a negative impact than those, in which we've convinced CVPS to either deal with or to cost share in its removal. We're really not the ones necessarily to cost share in that removal. We're gonna that's where the arrangements needs to be dealt with, because it's really a question of whose tree it is. I mean, it does pose a safety risk to the public. I believe that we as a village have in the past cost shared in removal of trees on on individual properties, which is not a great precedent. I mean, I'm just thinking back. So it's gonna involve a conversation with Norm and Jeff, myself perhaps, the power company. I mean, the power company doesn't like to look at those situations, but that tree has got enough mass and enough length still to it that it could continue to take down the
Yeah.
public line. And like I said, that was expensive. And normally they're like, yeah, we'll deal with it. The last one of these was on West Street where they didn't deal with it until the tree, in a rainy period of time, a number of years ago, fell halfway onto the power line. And then they decided they might want to deal with it. It was on, actually John Ulrich's property. That's not the only tree that's a problem. And the other one that revealed itself just 2 days ago was the massive cottonwood down by Jamaica's on a blind corner. A big chunk came down. Every time I drive under that remaining piece that's leaning out over, we've got to deal with those.
So now who paid for that? Who's liable for that? Is that
We
the
cleaned it
college
up.
or is
Norm
that?
cleaned it up, what came down onto
Okay.
public property. But again, it hasn't been removed yet. The tree committee concurs that it needs to be. It's a beautiful old, I mean,
Sure.
it's a big cottonwood, but it is not healthy. And I think it at least needs to be heavily trimmed. I don't know that there's a power line issue there. And if there isn't on that part of the road, then we're gonna be going to the college, I suppose. And seeing if, I mean, I'm sure Norm would be willing to be helpful in those situations, but I'm not sure we necessarily are going to incur all the costs of that removal.
Yeah, and I'm honestly, my goal here is not to place blame at all. I don't,
Yeah.
but I just feel like it's a safety issue. And I want to know what the next step is. What can I do? I mean, I feel like I've already called Green Mountain in the past. They've lost transformers. So,
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here.
Norm, what's your take on this at this point?
My take is that it's, we brought Ron Pembroke up there, he looked at it, says the tree's unhealthy. I agree that it needs to go, but it's that homeowner's tree.
As a previous trustee, chair of the trustees, what was his opinion about,
That the tree needed to go.
but who pays for it?
Oh, because we don't have a real good policy about that.
That's right, and I'm remembering back to when he was.
In Old Bennington, where he does a lot of work, when the tree falls down, they respond, because they're kind of their crew. They respond, they clean it out of the road, just like we did, and then the homeowner's responsible for it. The rest of that cleanup the next day, whether they call their own person or whatever.
Who pays for the cleanup in the road?
We do.
Old Bennington? No, I'm talking in terms of the old Bennington.
Right, well, for like these last couple instances, it's you,
Right.
that deal with it. But
3 trees have gone down in that one block area in the last week and a half.
I mean, if it's one tree and you pick it up and it's not a big deal, then it's, then it's no big deal. Across the street, who's the lady we were just talking about? Like where the tree fell, or how they.
Jamaica?
Jamaica. Those big pine trees fell. The next day, she had a crew cleaning them up. I think they're very proactive. They're your trees. We have to respond
You have to get the road
rapidly
clear.
because we need to open the road for motoring public and make it safe if we can. But after that, it's your tree, heaven forbid that we go and cut them down. Then it's all like, oh, no. But, now that they're rotten, it's all like, you.
And you also open up now that every other homeowner that has a tree issue is gonna call the village and say, you paid for theirs to be done, you need to come and pay for ours to be done.
We say, wrote down in our book to deal with this with that property owner. And we would love to have a nice, pleasant conversation with him and understand that if he doesn't want to deal with this tree, this will be my recommendation to the board. If he doesn't want to deal with this tree, it costs us probably $3,000 that night in real money. Next time it falls, you're paying us, and the clock starts the minute the phone rings. Because this tree needs to get dealt with. Now, if they're actively working on getting the tree dealt with, then I guess, cut them a break, but.
Peggy, as far as aesthetics, he could do less than take the tree entirely out. And
Oh, yeah,
render-
I'm sure.
and Render it,
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah,
And that would be his choice as much as,
yeah.
if he's gonna be paying for it. And I'm okay with that, other than
Yeah.
it looks bad.
I have a letter drafted to Jeff and Amy about the
Okay.
tree, just because I feel like I need to. For one thing, I want to get compensated for my electrician showing up to hook up the power, because that's not something that Green Mountain
No.
covers.
No.
But, every time we have a storm, every winter, when the rain or when the snow falls, or we have like winds, you never know where those branches are going to go. And,
Once a month, there's a piece of it in the
well,
road.
there was when I showed, I think it was last fall maybe, I showed up, I usually come home from work at lunch. And there was a whole bunch of like piled up branches near the driveway, and I guess the nursing home had called and said another branch had come down. And as I said before, it's miraculous that nobody has gotten hit with any of those branches, because if that limb had hit someone's car that night or a pedestrian, I don't think there would have been a good outcome.
No.
And thankfully also, the fire department, it was a Monday
I was
night,
gonna mention that. They were
so they
there,
heard some kind of like vibration and zoomed up the street because they knew something was
within
up.
45 seconds.
They were.
Literally.
I saw the lights while I was on the phone,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that was opportune. Well, we're gonna actively pursue it.
Okay.
You should go ahead and do,
Yeah, I will contact Jeff and Amy,
but,
and that letter's gonna go out tomorrow.
we will, I see Jeff quite a bit, and we'll try to, find some sort of resolve. Again, nobody wants to, we'll just have to see how it plays out. And I am an advocate for, in this case, Jeff, to push hard on the power company, to share the
Yeah.
cost.
Well, when I had talked to them, they had said that they do come out and evaluate trees.
Yep.
And I specified a number of times that I was not the homeowner.
Right.
But I just wanted to know what their policy was. And they said, well, have them contact us, because we do come out and look for trees, or look at trees that are deemed to be, I guess, a problem.
Yep.
But I can't imagine it's more cost-effective for them to
No, it
have
isn't.
accrue double time. I'm assuming they're working double or triple time.
But the other issue is now it's a different ownership, and policies could have changed about how they deal with this stuff, I don't know. So let us flesh this out, and
Okay.
I'll keep you informed,
Okay,
and hopefully we can do it sooner than later.
okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is there ever any precedent or policy where we would bill a homeowner for our costs and taking care of?
Well, we'd have to get a legal
Yeah.
opinion about that. I don't know. I think if somebody refused to do what we deemed necessary for public safety, it would be something we could attempt to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.
Thanks.
We'll get on that. Norm's got his hands full in a number of ways, but we've got to look into it sooner than later for
What's-
both of those trees.
What's sort of like ski rescue or something like that, where mountains are beginning to reevaluate whether they'll bill people who
That's right.
are,
Well,
or negligent, or,
Negligent.
yeah.
We've been there twice since in the spring to clean up major limbs like that. And, they've always fallen in after normal work again. And then going to the next day. And it's become, again, with this tree, it's becoming quite a problem. The homeowner wants to actually, but remember, this isn't a house. This is a rental property. So this is an income-piece property. And I might feel a little differently if it was the little old lady that lived in a house all by herself, but it's a rental property, it's income. So,
It has to be maintained safely.
with that, I'm sorry, I have a different personal opinion.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that without being prejudiced, because I would be the same anyway with an income-piece property. And I give you my recommendation, it's entirely up to you what to do. But understand that that cost you probably $3,000 last night for that tree. How many of those do you want to
None.
eat up? Now, the firemen are volunteer, but eventually, you know, their time is worth something. I mean, how often do they want to go up there and sit from 9 till 1 o'clock in the morning? And that's not fair.
Nope. Let's move on though to, Norm, do you want to do your other highway stuff?
Well, I mean, we've just been working like crazy, that's the best I can tell you. The sidewalk, it started on the end of Bank Street. We've got all the paperwork and permits in place. Spoke with the contractor this morning about when he's gonna come in and zip it. Wanted to try to do it tomorrow, but I don't think that's gonna happen, it'll probably be next week. We've been closing streets for crack sealing, people have been driving around them, we've already had one instance of that. It's unfortunate, but, you know, that's why we put up road closed. Road closed means closed. Doesn't mean drive around when I feel like it, stop when I don't. Other than that, that's about it. You know, we got a Main Street job, curb job, fountain job. We got more jobs than I know what to do.
We're adding more to the list every day.
Well, we appreciate it. It sounds like you'll talk later about maybe give us a little update on that plan there. What you have today, or Dave
I
can.
went down and got it printed out, just so we would have a big copy for it.
Okay. Development Review Board. I don't believe there's anything. Fire Department, I don't believe. Water Board. I will say that we met with the Water Board regarding this issue and that came up with the water main, and I thought it was a very productive meeting.
It's very good, one of the better ones.
And we both understood that we clearly were not well represented with the engineering that occurred, and somewhere, I mean, that the water department will do the work to replace the line the way that needs to, but we will all be seeking some sort of settlement on that based on the conditions of the contract. And so, yeah, Steve Goodrich, it was a good meeting. New business.
Were we to get nominations for a vacancy on their board?
Yes, and he didn't get them to me, so
Okay.
we'll probably do it next month.
Okay.
That's right, someone stepped down. New business is a public hearing on the Vermont Trans Bike and Pedestrian Program.
Okay, I got a few things to pass out here. Try and keep this quick, so I made some.
Lori?
Right. Okay, there's two grants that I'm in the process of putting together. One is for a construction grant to work on the sidewalks we did the scoping study on a couple years ago, that essentially would start here at Depot Street on this side and go up to the village line, and on the other side of the street go from where we put the new sidewalk in to which would basically be in front of David Aldrich's house, and then completing the section. Hopefully we'll get the intersection project completed, and then there'll be a piece of old sidewalk left between there and Kevin's. And so we want to add that and do it in one project. And fortunately, the scoping study had all the costs worked out. I got a copy of the cost sheet here. And I got the grant pretty well put together. It winds up being like 30 pages when you go through all the things they require. But this is just a quick snapshot of what it's going to be. Okay, one of the requirements is the grant is that we have to pass a resolution that the board approves this. So this is the resolution for this one, and let me just read it quickly. Whereas the Village of North Bennington is seeking to improve the pedestrian bicycle transportation facilities of the village, and whereas the village is particularly concerned about the appearance and safety of the Main Street sidewalks, whereas the Vermont Agency of Transportation has invited application under its 2013 Bicycle and Pedestrian Program, the goals of which concentrate on the construction of pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that this Board of Trustees endorse an application under the Vermont Agency of Transportation's 2013 Bicycle and Pedestrian Program for the installation of sidewalks, curbing, and green space along Main Street from Depot Street north to the village line and from Houghton Street to Kevin's Restaurant. The David Monks Village Trustee is hereby authorized to execute and provide all documents necessary for completion of such application. 3, that the village will provide the required matching funds. 4, that the village agrees to maintain the property. And 5, pass this 9th day of July 2013. And I'll need 2 copies signed by everybody. One for Lori and one for the grant.
Okay. So what's the match on these, Dave?
This is this one is only a 10% match. It's better than the other grants.
So do we need to vote on this?
I guess
Will
we
we
do.
sign it?
Before you sign it.
Entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Also move?
All those in favor?
Aye.
You say leave 2
Now I'll
copies?
sign
He's
it.
dead. Well, that's the different one.
This is a different one.
Yep.
They do allow you to apply for 2 grants. The scoping studies are different than the construction grants and evaluated by different people, so they allow you to write 2 in a year, as long as they're in different categories. So this was Norman's idea, that we do a scoping study on the sidewalks along Mechanic Street, be on the south side of Mechanic Street that basically disappeared over the years.
Yeah.
But it's, when you look at it, you can see that a sidewalk would be a nice addition to that area because there'd be green space beside the road and it's all laid out, so it's just a matter of paving. So I'm writing another grant, and again, I got a few backup pages here so you can see what it looks like with a map of where it's going. And again, these grants are due like the 25th of the month, so I'm trying to get all this stuff put together as soon as I can. And again, we have another
Sign
resolution.
this one as well. It's the second copy of the first
Oh,
resolution.
okay. I thought I signed it, what happened to it? Okay, so this resolution, again, very similar. Whereas the Village of North Bennington is seeking to improve the pedestrian bicycle transportation facilities of the village, and where the village is particularly concerned about the appearance and safety of the deteriorated sidewalks along the south side of Mechanic Street, and where the Vermont Agency of Transportation has invited application under its 2013 Bicycle and Pedestrian Program, the goals of which concentrate on the construction of pedestrian bicycle facilities. And now therefore be it resolved as follows, that this Board of Trustees endorse an application under the Vermont Agency of Transportation's 2013 Bicycle and Pedestrian Program for a scoping study to evaluate the feasibility of the construction of sidewalks and green space along the south side of Mechanic Street. The David Monks Village Trustee is hereby authorized to execute and provide all documents necessary for the completion of such application, that the village will provide the required matching funds past this 9th day of July 2013. So we need to,
Also move?
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is the second one of that.
Okay,
What do you want these to land when they're done? Do you want them back?
Do you take these back?
You can keep that, I
I
got it.
mean, the ones we signed.
Oh, I need 1 copy and 1 copy for Lori. Okay, I got more grant information to go over. Norm and I think we mentioned this at our last meeting. Norm and I went to the
Sign this one real quick.
the Better Back Roads program,
Yep.
and very refreshing in that they don't require a lot of falderalt to get the grant money, and they do allow you to include your own, like Norm's time, the use of all of our equipment as part of your match. So basically, what these come down to is they provide the material cost, and you have your own facilities that would fill in the rest of the costs. And again, they have similar thing in that they prefer that, one of the first things you do is do an inventory plan, go through it, which Norm has already got a long ways along that, and BCRC has some work that they've done. So what we need to do is combine those two bits of information. The other thing they require is that you have some kind of grading system. You can have anything you want, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever, to say which is the worst and which is in the best condition, so that then you can come up with a plan of priorities of how to go about fixing these things.
No, this is regard to what?
This is basically, they call it the better back roads, but what they're primarily concerned about is drainage and water problems, rather than the paving.
Yep.
That comes under a whole different system. So this is trying to make sure that we take care of, culverts that are going west on us, drainage that's going into the wrong places. We have, in our village, almost everything eventually winds up in Perrin Creek. And a lot of it probably shouldn't be going there in the condition it's in. So this is, I look at it, this will give us a plan that we can slowly work at to try and keep improving the quality of the water in Perrin Creek, where it all winds up anyways, no matter whether we're talking drainage water or where it's coming from. So the first grant is basically a $4,000 grant that I got pretty much completed. And Norm and I are going to spend Thursday getting some pictures, and Norm is going to pick out a site for a second grant, which would be, I don't know if you have one already picked out.
Park Street.
Or along Park Street, right. But, so we're going to pick out whatever area that is and write the grant for that. And so basically what I like about these is Norm is going to be in on doing the work anyways. And so that really isn't cash out of our pockets, and any material that we buy, the grant will basically cover, so.
No, it's great.
Plus they have a homeowner that's willing to kick in some private money to fix their piece of property, so they like that. Even like that on top of that. It was a project that we were gonna do anyway, but now we kind of pull off the grant to help with this. It's only gonna help.
Right. So that can be part of the match. And so we should be able to do some good work there this first year. Now, in talking to them, what they said, if you do a reasonably good job at this inventory in your presentation, you're almost guaranteed they're going to get it, because they want more and more villages and towns participating in this program. And they say once you get that, as long as you're going by some kind of scheme that you've outlined, you're almost guaranteed to get all your rest of your grants. So. And it's state money, so we don't have to go through all the federal falderall to get it. It's just,
Yeah.
so this one I think is, we're going to make the effort to get these in. We have to have them in by next Monday, so it was a really tight deadline, but.
The last time we exercised that money was on North Street, between the Arts Exchange and Mechanic Street. Where there was all that groundwater freezing up on the dude's driveway. It would freeze, keep flowing and freezing until you had a foot and a half of ice. So we ran that to the river.
Right.
And,
No, I think it's a good program, and I think we need to, just get something set so that every year we're taking a piece and fixing it.
keep it up, Dave. Good work.
Okay, well,
What else you got?
there's some more. I don't know why they all come due in July.
The money?
Okay, this one I really don't have anything to do with, or not much. This is the high-risk rural roads project. Were you involved? You must have been involved in that one.
I was,
That's with the signage and all that?
overlaid, yeah.
Okay, so all we need, this is basically at the Madison Road intersection.
Yes.
And the other one, I'm not sure where this is. This is near the railroad tracks on some, do you know what the other one was?
Yeah, right down the street. It's,
Right, okay.
it's.
Oh, right on
From
that.
there to Route 7.
Okay, gotcha. So all we need to do here is to have Matthew sign these and date them, and I have to get these in the mail by Wednesday.
And what's it for?
All it is basically in this one, this is,
It's a program that what happens is if there's more than 2 fatalities in a row. At one time, they sent a group down to look. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, we had
Right, had those kids.
very bad accident with 3 people. And what they do is they come down and they take everything that they can do in their power to make that road as safe as possible. Painting, signage, stuff like that. And so that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. And it's all funded by a grant project. There's no match to it.
Problem is it's Bennington.
What's that?
That's Bennington.
But the guy, because of where the road came and they're gonna do the whole road, stop sign to stop sign. That's why we're involved with a little piece.
Okay.
What's
They
it
do
called
one
again?
half of the railroad tracks.
What's what?
What's it called again?
It is called
Risk Rural Road.
High risk.
High Risk Rural Roads Projects.
Anyways, and one more, the Park and Ride Grant Program has come up with this is where, and this again is totally funded, where they will help you put in a parking lot for Park and Ride. Now, this new area here, can you put 10 cars in that?
Pretty close.
Because that's the requirement, it has to be a minimum
We
of
can pull a
10.
little grass and put 10. Because I think when I laid it out, I put 9. You know, that doesn't mean, and that's
Right.
just by wheel, you know, so we can.
Anyways, it's
If we
another,
break the topsoil, we get 10.
right.
For pavement, we'll put 10. One of them will have to be
I was gonna say-
Yeah, I'm trying to see what the application date is.
And actually, I'm assuming there's gotta be at least one handicap spot there as well, which is gonna take up more.
I don't
They've
think,
gotta have a minimum amount of space. They've gotta determine what the space is, so is there a guideline to go by
must,
in terms of the size?
no,
'Cause
there
10
isn't,
cars-
no, there isn't. It's, and they're saying small vehicles.
Okay.
And it says for greater than 10 vehicles, I think we may not, well, you can look at it. If we can get 11 vehicles in there, we can get the money.
that one.
When's that due?
That's what I was trying to say, it's coming again pretty quick. August 30th.
Okay.
We got plenty of time on that.
Time to push that barn a little further.
Anyways, it's gonna be tight for 11. So we got the ideal spot since, we got the bus that comes by here, the future train. So it should be next to a state highway, which it is. So I think we got everything we need, and there's no match for it, they just pay for it.
Wow.
So we can't use any of the rest of the lot here? As
Well,
part of
that's
it?
up to Norm to design. If you can design something that squeezes in 11 cars someplace.
And what's the,
What about us already having this part, or kind of that area over there that's a little
So you
no
have to-
man's land over there?
do you have to have greater than 11 cars and all those have to be?
Greater than 10.
Greater than 10 cars, but do all those have to be designated for Park and Ride? So
Okay.
does that mean if we get that paved, you can only park there if you're
Riding a bus or a train?
using transportation?
I don't think, I've never seen one of those monitored in my life.
I
Have you?
understand that. I was just curious.
Yes, that will be our rule. We will be very forceful on it.
And does carpooling count?
Okay,
Carpooling would count, I
I would
think.
imagine it would.
Somebody meets somebody else and.
no,
In
the
fact,
only
much
things
of
they
it is-
say is the land must be currently owned by the municipality or leased by the
Or
municipality.
least.
Oh,
Now, I don't know if that's officially done yet.
Have not signed the
No,
documents yet.
it's coming. It's in-
Right, but I think we can write it in a way if we don't have the paper saying it's,
Oh, it'll be done by, the guys.
Must be near a state highway, must be available for commuters' use year-round,
Looks
must
like it's-
provide parking spaces for greater than 10 vehicles, must be maintained by the municipality. Eligible activities may but are not limited to gravel surfaces, paid services, lighting, or signing.
So it's made available, it doesn't say it has to be designated for.
yeah, that's good.
So with your approval, I'll start filling this one in too.
Absolutely.
I think that's the end of them.
Well, you can keep that kind of money coming. You can do that anytime you want.
Well, I like these that are 90 and 100% paid. That's
Yeah.
it.
the only kind we can afford anymore, I'm afraid. So
I do
this,
have one other.
well,
sorry.
first, should we kind of open this public hearing?
Yeah, we need to
We need to
close.
close it. We need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now what do you got?
Okay, the other thing is I've been researching where we can get money to repair the roof. We do have the study done, which means we're in good shape to get a grant. Most of the historic preservation type grants are 50% matches. But there is a clause in the highway alternatives programs that says the money can be used to repair or maintain historic structures that are on the National Register that have some relation to transportation.
Perfect fit.
So,
And then that grant is what? 10% match?
no, that's a 20%. But all the rest of the preservation grants are only 50%.
So that's, yeah, let's go on
The,
that.
the only problem is that's another federally funded grant, so we have to jump through the hoops.
And the project cost doubles and,
But this is not, at least we're not in a highway, so it's, I think it's a simpler process when you're
right.
repairing a building. And we got all the historical data and everything, and
Good.
so that comes up, I don't think that'd be coming up until like October, November, but unless somebody hears of another grant that's
Okay.
applicable.
Still under new? I've got a
We're
couple.
under new.
I
You got some new?
Just a couple things. Norm, do you remember the mulch we got for the playground over there? Do you remember the company? Art Whitman transported that for us, right? I'll check with him then. And I think Jamie probably still has, he kept all the receipts for those, or did he turn those to you, Lori?
If this is recent, I haven't seen
It wouldn't be recent, no, this is, we need more mulch for the playground over there. The swings, half the kids can't reach the swings anymore because it wears away and gets kicked around, so we're looking to possibly get a load. We'll find out how much we need, but it has to be playground certified mulch, or should be playground certified mulch. So you would probably have gotten a copy for that.
I should have, and
Okay.
I'll look to see if I did.
Great, if you can find that,
And
if you can let me know what the company
when
was.
would that have been?
Gosh, that would have been when we put the
2009.
playground in, so yeah, at least 3-4 years ago.
So 2009 or 2010?
Yep. And if you don't, I'm sure Art probably remembers where we went to get it. Art Whitman did he donated the transportation of it.
I would say 2010.
All right, so if you have a hard time finding that, I could probably get it from him.
I know of a few good suppliers in the Troy area.
Okay.
For both, I mean, imagine talking about how much, how many yards.
I don't know, that's what we have to do, we have to measure to see how much we've lost. So it would just be, it only has to go in on top of that, we don't have to do any removal, it would just be to fill in. It's basically under the swing set. I mean, Norm could probably go up there and give us a guesstimate on yardage.
How many?
We had one tractor trailer load that we were supposed to put in on top of what we had, and because it was enough, I got voted out, so that's the way it was left, which, it still needs to get added to in the life.
Well,
We need 20 more yards.
you think it's 20? All right.
What, tandem load? If you're gonna go, we might as well go get it.
Sure.
And that would cover all of those spots without any trouble.
All right, so you think we need 20 yards?
You're gonna be looking at, probably $25 or $30 a yard delivered. Might be even a little more, or maybe I can talk to this guy
Okay.
down there.
Well, I'll find out when I find out the name, if you can give me a couple of names, I can just get some notes. All right. Wellings Field, I remember something happening to the lock. What happened to the lock down there? Because there was somebody got in there and tore up, I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen it or not. Tore up all along the drive with their car. Yeah. And we're just afraid at some point they're gonna get a little more
We keep our
brave and
block
get
down
out.
and it either gets caught by the people mowing it or the baseball,
So do the people that mow it have to go in that way?
Yeah, it makes it such more easy for them, and then we double lock it, we give them a key, then people would relock it to the chain and not lock it to the lock, and then we haven't had a lock on it in years, I keep shutting it. There's
Yeah.
a chain on it with flat.
Right.
But
All right, just curious, I knew we had a lock on there at some point, and I remember something happening to it, I couldn't remember what. All right, and lastly, the Glenn Frost fundraiser is this, softball fundraiser, is this weekend, Saturday. 3:30 is the kind of ceremony, and 4 o'clock is the game. And that's a good kind of kickoff to Art in the Park. And
What time's that start? That's,
Games at 4.
the Art in the Park or
yeah, Art
this?
Park.
That I don't know, but
1 to 2 to...
The art and park is 4 to 8.
Okay.
Great.
and
That's always a good, a
Yep,
good cross-pollination there. Is that it?
that's it.
Any other new business?
Well, I'd like to, I don't know if it's new or old, but Bill and I met this afternoon to begin taking a look at the charter. And we've set a time to meet again. We have access to the current charter. It seemed like it would be helpful to get some models out there. It's easier to see what might need to be changed within the old document, but not so easy to see what might be missing.
Right, yeah.
And so it felt like it'd be helpful to get some recent charters that have been changed to see what.
It's all public documents that can be gotten
Yeah,
from out there, so.
So we're
The
going to
League
go
of
ahead and do
Village and
that.
Towns probably is one of the best sources, wouldn't you think?
Right, I had contacted them earlier on
Yeah, I know
too,
you
and
had.
yeah, so I may start there, but both a selection of towns, really. So that's kind of, did you want to add something to that, Bill?
No, I think, yeah, that's where we need to start, and then we need to figure out who we need to involve, I think was one of the other things, in looking at it, because it touches on zoning, it touches on all these different things, that it's kind of the big umbrella for everything. So I think us kind of looking at what other people have done, then figuring out what we think might need to be added or subtracted, or whatever that is, and then bring it back and talking about what that needs.
Yeah.
And I would assume that in any event, any state statute overrules anything you
Yes.
may have in the charter.
Right,
So it isn't like you got to cover everything in the statutes, because the statutes, they automatically cover it, and you can write what you want, but it wouldn't
that's
apply.
right.
It's gonna be a
Well,
lot.
it's reviewed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see
You're
that
gonna be
it.
taking things out more than you're gonna be putting things in, I
Right.
think. In terms of
Well,
getting rid
yeah.
of these vestigial.
Though I must say, there's a charm in some of the
It is.
old, that I almost hate to take, even though it's a little archaic. I'd hate to,
How many fowl one can have and,
Where you put the blacksmith or the butcher,
yeah.
regulating circuses
I
and,
think my favorite when I read it was we have the right to set the hours for public bathing. I don't know if that's still in there, but we do have that right.
I wanna keep that.
but it's one of the things about those kind of one line, a couple lines, articles is that you can see it's the foundation for some of the other current, I mean, so I'd hate to do away with all those.
yeah, it's interesting, it's really the precursor to the way things are now, so it's nice to have seen that, where that little.
And that all
thought about
exists
it.
as an historical document.
Yes,
You know,
uh-huh.
all the changes are documented through that.
Most of them, except for one of them, it says deleted,
Yeah, there was
in
one that was
1921. I don't know what they deleted, but article whatever is now just noted as deleted.
And now we
You
want to
can
find out what
that.
it
You can
is.
easily find it online.
And somebody's going to be saying that about us. What was that?
So proceed. I mean, see if you
Yeah.
can
So we'll
access some of these examples.
Yeah.
Now, all that stuff that's in there about the boundaries is, I mean, that seems like it took an awful lot to define what the boundaries of the,
Right, and of course it references property
Things that don't
that's no
exist.
longer, right, owned by so-and-so, yeah,
I'd think a map would serve the purpose a lot cleaner.
right.
Which we have many of.
And should, just keep in mind, it's a few years off, but that original boundaries and was set 150 years ago in 2016. So we should be keeping that in mind.
Celebration.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
What do you call it, Sesqua? No, what's 150 years? There's a name for that, centennial.
Don't remember.
No, it's still not.
I think I ever knew.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yes, Gail, I don't know whether, I mean, the financial policy is old business.
Right, I have some new.
Let's do it, yeah, let's do all this financial stuff related.
Which you want to do first?
I've got you.
I have some new business, we have the financial, and I just wanted to briefly have a look at the expense report.
Let's start with the tax sale then.
Okay.
You know that,
I had sent out letters stating that if there was no activity or there was no agreement on file, I was going to proceed with taxes. So I have gotten some money, but not as much as we need to get. So I contacted Kevin McCool. I had actually contacted two lawyers, and Kevin said he was the other lawyer said no. I need to have an authorization to proceed. What's gonna happen, he's gonna send out demand letters. And a lot of times, things will start coming in, or when he goes down and looks at, title searches and looks and see what mortgage companies there are, then we're gonna find some of the mortgage companies are gonna pay it. If we don't get a response from that, then he'll proceed with the tax sales. So I'm trying to get a list together. But I need an authorization for you to allow me to proceed. His cost is 15% of the principal, plus recording fees.
And I heard you say that this may set the ball in motion to get payments, but how many are we talking about generally?
I have to go through the list, I don't know. I mean, there's quite a few out there that are really lagging, so I'm gonna have to go to the school board. But this will at least allow me to get I don't understand.
How do we do that? When we are doing this, we're doing it for both taxes, right? The school and the...
So the 15% from the village principal and 15% from the school.
Yep, okay. So I entertain a motion for that, to proceed.
I'll move to do that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next thing, I had sent everybody an email about switching my back line that is now being used as the treasurer line to the line here at the village. I can do that. I talked to Fairpoint. There's two lines that are coming into the village. This one, I think Marty came up here and called me, and it was 447-3580. It's not in the book. There's a number 447-7031 that Lori says is Dan Taub's number. That's listed as the treasurer's office. But
Yeah, I don't understand, Gil, why this one isn't 7031, because he has a phone up in his office. It's the other,
Well,
supposed to be. I mean,
something is, the 770.
Could they have gotten crossed somehow?
It's not, it's been busy since I started trying, because I wanted to see if I could find what the message
Got a
said.
phone off the hook here somewhere, Norm?
well, this isn't.
No, I was, Marty came up, I said, see if it's off the hook.
Yeah.
Let's call this number. 7031.
No,
It's busy.
yeah.
So,
We've been paying for this.
yeah, that's
It doesn't work.
Dan's, and his office is locked. I can't get in.
Does he ever use it?
He has in the past. I know right now I'm taking all his calls because he's gone for 6 weeks.
Well, nobody can,
And all this-
nothing up there is taking
So-
calls.
Well, I would suggest actually eliminating, so you were gonna take the number that you,
447-3580, I think is what I said. Well, so I
you
have
have
this,
this second line at home,
I have the second line at home.
and as you transition, you want that to come back up here. Play phone call.
So what I'd like to do is just transfer it to this number, and then we'll put it in the book as the treasurer's office, I'll get an answering machine. It's gonna avoid, because when I leave, it's gonna be disconnected. I've been.
Right.
It's, I've been doing it because, and paying for it because.
Easier than coming up there.
Well, and it just made sense to, for me to keep things, when I first started, I had kids at home and, I just didn't want to lose calls. And so, and I just never stopped. But I think every mortgage company, it's on the tax bills, they just know that number, the lawyers.
That's fine. So let's get rid of this number. Nobody calls it, nobody listens to the messages, right? I mean,
So if you'll allow me to get an answering machine?
no, you don't even need that. Allow you to get to have a Fairpoint. Is it Fairpoint currently? I mean, you don't need an answering machine anymore, do you? You can have an answering service.
You need one at home.
Well, I need something that I can remotely call into. So either
Right,
we
should
have
it
to
just be a
get,
service?
She wants to leave this phone here and get the answering machine put onto it.
either
Yeah.
that
And get rid of her
or
line
we
at home.
That's
or we
There
get the
is an
voice
answering
mail
machine
on that
there.
one particular line from
Yeah,
Fairpoint.
there is an answering machine on here.
I don't know.
But you don't need that. I mean, doesn't everybody have a remote answering service on their phone line? I mean, I have cable,
I have to
so.
pay for it.
I don't know.
Usually have to pay for it. I mean,
I don't know what you gotta do.
If
so,
I'm not there, I don't want to.
We don't have a telephone.
Yes, whatever you need to do.
I would say, if I could get, just,
Back in
I'll
the
see what
18th
the cost would be to
century,
get
or
voicemail
19th century.
on this line through Fairpoint.
Yeah.
And see, and it may, but there's answer machines that you can just remotely call into.
So we can call from home and get the.
Right. Yeah, but the advantage of these others is you can have those messages emailed to you.
Or you can forward them. That's
And you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
Can
So,
I just say one thing? We probably should talk to Dan because,
Yeah.
I think you're right, Dale. On all of his documents and paperwork, it has that, whatever number you said, 7 with 8 and a 5. That was,
the 77031?
no, he has the other number on his documents,
73580?
which is this. I don't know how he gets messages anyway.
Well, so do a lot
Does he
of other
want
people
to?
who
He usually doesn't answer.
Call me and wonder
Doesn't sound like
what
he
they
wants to.
heard back from him. He has 2 lines in his own house. I really think in this kind of community, it would be acceptable to ask that he have them call him at home.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I get sometimes 10 calls a day.
Well, right,
And
and he would not.
Yeah, maybe.
He gets 10 a month, if that.
What do you think?
Cancel what?
Do you think you should cancel both of them?
I think we should cancel both of these and then have that line go back up there. But we need to talk to Dan about that.
I was gonna change the number. I was gonna close my line at home. Fairpoint said they could do a Comcast win-back number, contact Comcast, but I'd have to have a line in here to have it, to change the number, so.
To 5547.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm already confused. You do whatever you're suggesting because I think it makes sense.
Okay.
And we'll
Then that makes
later
sense.
find out about getting rid
So
of
it's
it.
just taking the number she has at home and transferring it to this phone. Just so she doesn't have to contact all the people that have that number.
It's
To
too
change
hard.
it.
Right, you want to keep the same number.
It doesn't make
And
sense.
it- yeah, no,
And,
you're right.
and list it.
And then should we get a different person at some time to do it, they can make a decision whether they would like to transfer it over to their house.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll take care of that. So which number are we gonna use this number? And then you're gonna cancel the one upstairs?
Well, that one we'll have to,
we'll have to
talk to Dan first.
He's gone till mid-August, but
Okay, I'll switch it to this one.
Okay.
The next thing, I had a meeting with Steve Love today about the audit, and spent a couple of hours together. So there's work that's going to be needed to be done on the fixed assets, which is the big. And so an inventory of fixed assets is needed. So I'm going to ask the highway department, the fire department to do the inventory. And we'll probably have to get together as a group and sit down and say, try to remember everything that we have. I know I'm going to start with what we have that's being insured, but we're going to have to come up with the estimated historic cost on that, and if it was someplace that was donated to us, then it's the historic fair market value at the time of the donation. And then,
Are there standard depreciation times and things that you have to go by?
What's that?
Is there standard depreciation times, like,
Well, that's, we have to discuss that.
like a dump truck? Is that
Well,
We started that last year.
Doing inventory?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about infrastructure? Wasn't
Yeah,
sidewalks and
culverts,
everything?
sidewalks.
You have to do road, just
Street
repaving roads,
lights.
no.
How about a grant for that one?
Yeah, no doubt.
And she worked with Eddie too, do you remember?
Like the highway shed, the garage, you know, the
That's all-
depot,
that's all
all the
She did
equipment.
work with Eddie.
And the board has to decide, okay, what's the capitalization policy? Meaning, are we gonna capitalize everything over $2,000?
Right.
So that we just eliminate small items? You know, and then.
You can
once-
just decide that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be reasonable. You can't say we're gonna capitalize everything over 100,000, but, you know, it probably wouldn't work with the audit. but-
Do we have a standard practice to date?
Today,
To date, what have we been doing?
well, we don't have a fixed asset list. So we don't have-
So really,
I mean, we do have policies, we
I mean,
have policies about when you need to go out and get bids for things, which may
Right.
kind of relate to that, you know, and I don't even know where we're at with that now.
But, you know, I mean, you don't want to start with $500. I mean, that's,
No.
you know, you're gonna- and the nightmare is going to be figuring out, you know,
What the-
depreciation. And that's going to take time, so we can either,
Now, do you need to put asset numbers and everything like that, like you would in a business?
you know, I mean, I think it's a good idea to, you know, just put a sticker
Yeah.
on everything, so that you know what the asset number, I mean, so that on your spreadsheet you have,
Right,
so that when you sell something,
right.
you know, and you trade it in, you'll know what you need to do. This is gonna take a lot of time, and, you know, this is not anything that the treasurer is, you know, we either need to, you know, get an accounting firm to do, once we get the inventory, to do the.
Didn't we not kind of come to the conclusion at one point that maybe we didn't need to do this, at least from a gap standpoint?
If, I talked to Steve about that, and, I mean, we need, you know, we need to have an audit, and we're gonna get, you know, not a good opinion, because, you know, we're
And
not.
now if you have an audit, you gotta have your assets.
And that applies, so how many municipalities in Vermont have done this?
And I sent you that census.
Yeah.
And I talked to somebody at VLCT today, 49% of municipalities have an audit every year. And
a
only
full flow.
14%
have nothing,
have never done
have
it,
never done it.
and 10% every 3 years.
Every 3 years.
Yeah.
From a cost standpoint, because it's gonna be so costly, what's the upshot? Does it affect our cost of money? Does it improve our credit? Anything like that?
I think, I mean, you need to have an audit when the treasurer changes. But, I mean, as things have gotten more and more complicated, I've changed my opinion on, you know, I mean, I think we need to have a policy that, maybe 3 years, every 3 years, I don't know.
That's what I would be
You
after.
know, I think things are getting, you know, so
Well,
much more complicated.
And obviously, the hardest one's gonna be the first one.
The hardest is
Because we're
gonna be the
starting
first
from
one.
scratch.
We're gonna have
After
to go
that,
back to the beginning, at basic, we're gonna have to, and you're gonna do this, if you don't do it annually, you're gonna have to do this every time you do it, because they have to start with good beginning numbers. So basically, you're auditing the beginning numbers that have to be tied out, and then you're auditing, you know, and there's so many new things now. I mean, there's GASB 34, which talks, you know, I mean, it's, you know, you have to have government-wide financial statements, plus you have to have your fund financial statements. And, you know, we talked about the water department and how we're gonna handle that, because the government-wide would also include the water department, and, you know, that's on a different fiscal year, so it's.
do they do it?
They do.
Say they do a yearly audit? Do they do a
They
yearly
do
audit?
your audit, it's just how do we in our government.
But it's not a real audit, it's review more than an audit, isn't it?
No, they do full,
No.
the water department, every year.
So they must have all
I'm
their
used to an
assets
audit,
and
usually
everything.
takes 2-3 months. And yet
What's that?
A real audit takes 2-3 months and gets extremely expensive.
Well,
I mean, when they dig into
Well-
everything, and
Not, well, this isn't a fraud audit, I mean, it's,
No, I know
they're
it's
gonna
not
do
fraud.
testing, and they're gonna, you know, which, you know, I think, I guess I would recommend every 3 years.
And if they're doing it
Or-
every year,
Or unless you do it annually, because it would, maybe, once we get ballparks, I don't know, it might be cheaper than having to catch up every 3 years, but
Now, if we change treasurers, do we have to have an audit, or is
I'm
that?
pretty sure I don't know.
I mean, how do these towns that say they never had an audit, I can't believe they never had a treasurer?
Or maybe it's recommended, I don't know. I mean, I think we need to have an audit. We've been talking about it, we need to,
No, I agree.
and,
I haven't done one in a
you know,
long time.
Things have changed so drastically from when I did audits.
Oh, yeah, no, I
You
know.
know, so,
It's just that it still seems like we're still a pretty small municipality compared to, I mean, I could see where Bennington should have one and, in Burlington and
Yeah.
Rutland but, we got 1,500 people, I mean, it's not like,
but we have a $500,000 in our budget,
I know.
so.
We do a lot for a little village.
I think,
So I just need to, we just need to decide how we're going to proceed, I think, in terms of, because this is the biggie. This is, the big, and once it's done, and then.
Well, I think we need to get the asset list, whether we decide to have audits or not. I just think that's something
Okay,
we should have.
so to make it so, you're suggesting first start getting the water department and the fire and,
Oh, the water department's
They've
taken
got their
care of.
own, okay.
They're in like an enterprise.
so they're gonna
fund.
need to do this, then we're gonna meet and start trying to figure out
What
how
we're
we-
missing.
what we're missing. Again, infrastructural stuff.
Yeah.
And if we need to hire somebody to help us with that, I guess we will. Who does this? I think you went and asked, you tried to find somebody to do this once, and nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I can do, but I can't as part of the training. It's just,
Oh, no, it's too time consuming.
It's
No,
too
it's-
time consuming. But again, we may be able to ask, various accounting firms to bid, and just, maybe they give us an hourly rate as to just take, and there may be, if we come, there may be, I don't know, I have to look and see what software is out there to see if it's something that can be done fairly easily. It may be purchasing software, but, I don't know, or maybe a simple spreadsheet that I don't have, because I do all my fixed assets, in my tax software, so. But we can talk about that.
I just wanted to add, I think it really relates to the charters talking about auditors, which we elect each year but don't use particularly well too. And so one of the questions I think will come up, do we keep that? If we drop it, then I think there are requirements to find.
have to have an
You
audit.
have to have an alternative and a clear alternative in place.
You have to have an audit every year, I think, if you
Well,
drop the
I'd have to
audit.
look.
Sure about that.
Yeah, I'd have to look back on that
Right.
policy, maybe.
I did get a note from VLCT, and they do have an advisor up there if we want to pay them to help us. And I may just call him and just say, let's just talk about how we proceed on this, so.
I don't suppose any of these grants for like when we're redoing town plan and all that.
Because I looked at that for looking at the bylaws, and it's very clear that those are only for
Planning and.
the
and
five-year
zoning.
plans and bylaws.
Yeah, and I mean, like, big towns, like Burlington and all the big towns have, comply.
But there may be some grants out there that could help us. I'll look around and see if, but I know the planning grants don't, because I specifically looked at that. the other
Yeah.
day.
Okay, so that's that, and then the other, just a couple more things. I need some documentation to proceed with the grant anticipation note, and I'm gonna have to take out a line of credit for both the grant anticipation note for Bank Street and also probably a line of credit for us for either a tax anticipation note or a line of credit. So I may need, maybe we need to continue this meeting just so we can have a short meeting to sign documentation, but I need some documentation that shows what the grant is and what the match is, and I'm hoping that Jim Sullivan's going to be able to help.
Jim will have all of that.
Yeah, this is the summary of the money part of it.
Okay.
Now, the timing is still up in the air.
Right,
And-
so
And Jim will be back Monday.
Okay.
He's on vacation this
I'll
week.
try.
Is this for her?
Yeah.
You know, I guess we may have, depending on how the whole water issue is resolved, we may have to carry this for a while.
Right.
So depending on how they resolve it, so.
Now, Laurie, when we get this money from these grants, you get BCRC will send you the billing information, right?
Yeah,
No.
they send something that looks like this.
Yeah, I know that,
And then it says what our share is, what their share is.
yeah. And then you have to write the cover letter that there's
And
no
I have to write
federal
a cover
money.
letter and,
Right.
Math
Now, can you
stuff.
send that
You know,
before you pay the money?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you send that out before you actually pay the bill?
No, well, I send the letter out requesting the money,
Right.
and then I put it on the warrant, so generally I send the letter before.
So you may get that very soon after you have to pay
Fairly
the bill.
soon. It's not too bad. This one doesn't happen to be too bad.
Right, because
You
they
know,
said
Some of them take forever, but this
Right.
one's not bad.
because they said they tried to get it out within a week.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't bad. And then I've also got a copy of all the documentation.
Right.
And it's all broken out.
Right. So if the timing is right, we could get the money back before we have to pay the bill.
Perhaps.
But it's not gonna be a long term, and they.
No, but I mean, if
The
we-
only thing
right.
is this extra money that might, but
Right, but you gotta get the cash from someplace.
right, so so I need.
Even though you only
all
need
of-
it for a day, you still need it.
So as I understand, I can talk to David
Yeah.
about the
Right.
timing and that sort of thing. Okay,
And what the contractor said, which I think is good, is he doesn't like to wait for a big bill. He likes to keep placing
okay.
smaller bills, which I think is better for us. Because by the time he gets another one, we'd have the money back.
The only other thing, I mean, actually, I talked to David Dents yesterday, and we were talking about the park, and he was saying how the kids loved doing it, and he thought it was one of our best projects, and so Marty was saying, well, you know, we have this other piece of the park that's,
Right.
you know, that's on the other side of Fontaines, that's never been developed, you know, it could be a nice spot for a picnic area, it needs to be cleaned out, you know, it's got the steep slope. And he said, send him some, you know, a plan, and he would consider bringing the kids back again. He said it was one of the best projects they ever did.
what I would like to do is wait to resolve the situation with the Green Mountain Power,
Yeah.
which.
Yeah, how's that going? Is there any
Well,
progress?
I wrote them a letter requesting that they maybe donate it. And they said they were not at this time able to accept that request. But basically made the suggestion that maybe they would sell it for the price that had been negotiated when Monmouth Waters had talked to them many years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was like $1,500. So,
That's a gift.
Yeah.
Well, $1,500, that would be something
we could use.
you could
The-
actually use the
the-
park and
the-
rec money for, because we really, we
Yeah.
do pretty well with staying within that budget. In fact, we probably don't spend it all. So if it were something like $1,500, that would be something, that would be money well spent.
Oh, yeah, that'd
Because
be great.
it's actually gonna be worth well over that.
And
So
there-
it'd be crazy not to use it for
And
that.
It's undevelopable land, and it's a half acre,
Yep.
right? Or was it more than that? How much land was it?
Wasn't very much.
No. So I really think
A little more than that. What
okay.
do you mean for which? The Green
Good Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'd also have to pay the fees to subdivide it out and stuff, which hadn't ever been done. He did that research, and so we'd have to do that, but,
Well, wasn't there some money left from when we purchased the other segment that was set aside for
That money was set aside though to develop that park.
just that part?
the language
Yeah.
is specific on that?
Yep. And we've already used some of it. We actually used quite a bit of it. Remember what that was for, Norm? Remember we had to go through the fund?
We've rolled it sometimes,
I think the rolling we've covered though. I think that money we used was for the, probably material for the driveway. Because that was pretty much the only expense we had when Dave was there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So we did use it, we did use some of it, and I couldn't tell you how much, I could find out, but I
But
don't
if
know how
it's
much is left in
restricted to
there.
that
It is
lot,
restricted to developing that piece of property.
Okay.
I'll follow back up with them, but maybe it would be useful to have a motion that allows me to continue this discussion up to a certain amount of money with the amount of power. And if I could find that email, which I probably am not able to find anytime quick. Well, let's move on, and then if I find that, we can reference it, maybe make a motion. I'd like to move that along, because no, I agree, that was the greatest project. That was just phenomenal. The amount of work we got for nothing.
I know, it's
So
amazing.
he had asked, he said, I don't have any pictures of them before, so that always, so
Oh.
Marty went through all his files and is emailing him. you
Oh,
know,
good.
Those
Yeah.
photographs that he has.
Yeah, that was good stuff. What else do you got, Gail?
I don't know if you have questions, if you want to look at the budget. There's certainly items that are overspent, and didn't know if any of you want anything to come out of any of the reserve funds, I don't know. You know,
I need some help understanding what we're looking at. It's the full end of year.
these are just drafts, but I still am missing some information, but, I have the expense report, which is the budget report. I next have, just a balance sheet that shows cash, liabilities in terms of, payables and that sort of thing. You can see, I have not changed the designated highway fund balance yet, which I will do. But, we're really overspent, so our fund balance drops. Just a general fund balance. The last page is just a revenue and expense statement. It just shows the revenue that came in, but you're gonna see some of the things that aren't, that are restricted, like the fountain.
Yeah.
And, some of the other state money that was for the grants and that sort of thing. If you're really so inclined, you can look that the expenditures don't match in terms of what's here on the revenue and expense statement, and that's on the budget, because there's a couple things that aren't showing up on the budget, like,
That's what I was gonna ask. The office is off by about 5,000 or something. like
Right,
that.
the expenses are, like the municipal grants not on the budget, the 4,300 or so, and the fountain fund, the fountain expense is 3,000, so that's the difference between the total expenses that are actual and what's on the budget statement. But, so, we've overspent village office, there's, a fair amount of legal fees, obviously. And, depot maintenance, didn't know if you wanted any.
That was the fuel, right? We went,
Most of it was fuel, wasn't it?
There was, depot heat was 5,400, depot maintenance was 2,537.
Well, he's separate.
So 54 is almost 6, and we budgeted 6.
And then we got depot
No,
lights
that's,
Gail,
in there. Yeah.
on the DRB and planning, that's over double the budget that is there. As part of that, did we get all that grant money back in?
Well, some of it, the municipal, that doesn't include that municipal grant or anything.
Okay, it doesn't include that.
No. It's, the zoning secretary, there's zoning legal that's in there.
But how did we miss it by such a big
well,
amount?
that's the legal,
Yeah.
what we've been dealing with.
Oh, shoot, right.
And the legal was what pushed over the top.
The legal was double and the DRB and planning was double.
David, in the Goldstone Architects
Yeah,
bills, that's gone under there as well.
under DRB and planning?
Well, because
No.
it has to do with
Yeah, right,
that particular issue.
okay.
Oh, down, yeah.
So these really were extraordinary things.
Yeah, the zoning legal is 40%.
Right.
That's, you know. And then obviously the firehouse.
They're working on that.
I mean, gas and oil was 8,900,
Right.
so, you know.
Right, we've had those conversations. and
Well,
we-
I'm sorry, that's the wrong, heat was $11,460.
Yeah,
So that's the whole budget blown there.
And repairs and maintenance of the firehouse was 5,800.
what was that?
I don't remember. I know we put some on that.
Electricity, the electrician,
For the bridge?
No,
That was older.
longer.
it was for lighting, and they did something to the back steps. They did the floor
Yeah, they did the floor.
inside. I'm just trying to remember.
I don't know if they did anything on the back steps.
Frank Buck is an electrician, correct? And I've paid several bills for him,
Okay.
but I guess I don't know why.
Could that, some of that be the culvert work that we thought they should?
No, we paid for it.
Wasn't there talk of a second meter being on there that nobody knew about? Did they have anything done with that?
He did. He did have something done about that.
So would that be an
So that
electrician's
perhaps-
fee? If that required them doing something, that could have been an electrician's fee.
Could be, and Green Mountain Power was there as well. And he's been able to better monitor everything since I sent him everything.
Alright, so that could be
So that's
potentially, if they had to
working.
get an electrician in there to deal with that.
Yeah, I just would like to see that broken down. That extra 10 grand in firehouse expense.
But if you go to the revenue, you mean you want to see where it is? Go to the revenue and expense statement and you can see, you know, what's, we've got heat, electricity, repairs and maintenance, insurance, that's under firehouse.
Those all go into the same thing, Matthew.
They go into this, you know, it's just the stuff, that's it broken down.
Electric repair.
Heat was 11,000,
Their insurance.
insurance, repair, maintenance, electric, and heat, and then the gas oil was different.
That goes under fire.
Yeah,
Fire department gas.
now they're gonna have, it's tough. I mean, we have no control really over those numbers, so
Right.
why are we talking about it? Other than that they need to go down. Okay, any other highlights?
On the balance sheet, Gail, does that include, are the fund balances in the assets someplace? Are they in?
They're part of that 179.
I'm not sure. That is,
So that would be like in the money market amount?
right, we've got, well, if you look at the cash checking, it looks like, I remember, but it's the accounts, so it nets with the money market, so. And then we have the rest of the cash and payroll. I have my delinquent tax account and a tax account
Right.
on the books.
So all these fund balances are in that 150?
Not the fund balances, you mean the other fund balances, no, those are all separate.
So those aren't included in the assets? Okay, so,
The separate sheet I gave you, those are all, you know,
Okay.
separate funds.
so actually the total of this is actually, it's an asset in one sense, but it doesn't appear in the balance sheet.
No, because it's not part of the general fund.
Right, right. Because these are all dedicated
those are all dedicated things. And you'll see on the balance sheet, if you look at your fund, you've got your fund balance and, you know, the reserve is for the fountain.
Okay.
That'll be changed again this year when I make my year end, you know,
Yeah.
I changed, you know, the designated highway and,
Right.
you know, net up and do the fountain funds, because that's all restricted.
Yeah.
So our fund balance, unrestricted, is going to be like very low.
Mhm.
So, we need to-
But didn't we already anticipate the use of that in next year's budget?
well, not for next year, but for this year. That's why we dropped it.
This one, now, for,
Right,
okay.
for the year end.
Well, I did remember wanting to use some of the community development fund. I thought we were gonna apply at least 5 of that towards some of this legal stuff.
Okay.
That was part of,
So I
For,
can,
On my conversation.
for the NADU's?
Yep.
Right,
you know, I'd be willing to take 5 off of that, no
Okay.
more.
all right.
yeah, because that's what we said that we were gonna use.
It was money we got from the college for the
Right.
zoning money. I was like,
Right, and so we said we'd finally do something about these nagging
Issues.
little
Yeah.
issues.
And you want that to go against,
well,
Legal expense.
the legal expense or the DRB?
well, again, I'm still confused as to what part of the DRB.
I don't know, what do you?
I mean, there's 6 extra thousand in there that I just don't understand, and then there's 4 extra thousand in the legal. So there's a 10,000 discrepancy.
No, there's,
Wait a second.
like, I put Goldstone in the.
Seems like a lot.
But I put like Rob Bennington still in legal.
Right.
So, I mean,
It's all legal.
it's all legal.
You know, a lot of it. You know, we've got the Lori's zoning secretary, 3,800, you know, small amount of advertising. Some-
Well, I would prefer that stuff like, hiring the engineer and everything all be under legal rather than DRB.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make
You know what I mean? Just because it really had nothing to do with the DRB, that was all related to the legal problems.
Well, it says DRC and zoning, right? Is that what's, that's what's listed?
But it's actually not even a zoning, it's not even a zoning issue the way this was going down.
Okay,
So-
so I can change all that. And then take $5,000.
But it's kind of an arbitrary, but I think I'll understand it better when I look at it next year when we're budgeting. Where did that come from?
Yeah, okay, I can do that. Any other transfer letter reserve funds? You want me to do this year?
No, I feel like, obviously, I mean, we have benefited, the highway department has, had some issues, but generally, we've benefited greatly from the wages situation from a year ago, the insurance situation, the fact that Norm held on to that money knowing that he would need it for, those things, so
But that's what but that's basic, because I think when we talked to Norm, we were thinking that the Bank Street project would be coming in and we'd have to use that.
That's right.
That money, and it's still there.
Yep.
So we did exactly what we planned on doing.
I mean, other than vehicle maintenance, there's a lot of that deal with the red truck. Fuel injection 3 times or whatever. The depot maintenance, I'm going back to that. Okay, that's the fuel, not the sinking fund.
What?
Nothing.
Well, I question that too, but,
Right,
And then
vehicle
these people-
maintenance, we had some pretty good repairs, we upped that this year, not to this figure. But the truck that broke down wasn't anything that we acquired through federal surplus, so we could just walk away from.
No, I
You know,
get
a truck broke down when we were in trucks.
Yep.
Garage all expenses, that's a pretty big category, so we have to look at that and see where we could, what's in it and what's not. Salt and sand, we got that last storm. We were right on the money until we got that last load of salt. And we were, on that budget, we were 10,000 under last year. That's
That's
why
right.
I really wanted to put that into a sinking fund, so that money goes, carries high and low.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
well, when the sun shines someday, we'll do that, but right now, we're,
now this deficit in the depot maintenance, shouldn't that be balanced out with our depot maintenance fund?
no, because the maintenance is not,
Not the,
that's not the
improvement.
sinking fund. This is back to this depot maintenance is the heat, the phone, the lights,
It's not
all
renovating,
that.
it's maintenance.
Oh,
Maintaining
so
the
it-
depot.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's just not repairing the depot,
That's right.
right? Which the renovation fund
Fund
is
is,
for repair, not,
Well, one of those bills, if it was the bill to put in the door downstairs, that could be, that was maintenance. I mean, the door was kicked in. Somebody came in their building and spent the night. I mean, there's no,
That was Murray, right?
Murray
It was
did
like
both of them.
$1,500.
You're right, the first one, and then they put up the picture molding, that's an upgrade.
right,
Well, both of those would be, those both should actually come out of the sinking fund.
Yes.
Depot.
right.
As does this door repair and as did.
And the roof
all
repair,
The windows.
Fixed all these to, you know, to tighten up the building. We're still spending ridiculous amount of money on heat for a building that stays empty
yeah.
a lot of the time. I mean, we really should look into talking to our plumber and draining the pipes and,
Upstairs anyway.
you know, I'd say the whole building, and you know what? And only turn the heat on the day before we have a meeting, because at least keep it at 50 or something. I mean, this is,
Well, the thing is, actually, the building's used more, you know, the building's used,
and again, like I've always said, and I've made my recommendation, building costs X number of dollars to maintain a year. And divide that by 365, if you want to use our building, you take a day of that, you take a day. Because it's a lot of money.
we can do that with the people that we agree, you know, we might need to do that with organizations that are already using it.
Government-run organizations?
No, like, you know, the Dr. Woods thing,
Edible forest.
edible forest thing related to the, you know, the parks down there,
We
or,
have other government entities in this village that use this building for meeting space.
for what?
We have other government entities in this village that use this meeting, this.
Well, right, the water department, zoning board,
State.
state, with any of this stuff when we, it's where we meet, you know?
Public notice, the public notice thing for our project was a state meeting here.
That's right. Now, I agree that maybe, well, that's a whole nother discussion. But I could see cutting the heat off the upstairs for sure in the winter.
I mean, we make big strides in this building, but we're still a long way to go.
You could drain that bathroom upstairs. That's the only, that and the zone of that heating, boom. We'll talk more about that. I mean, that could save,
I'm not worried about the heat right now.
capture some of this.
Package it.
You know, we can sit and look over this over and over again, and we probably should everybody study it extensively and maybe discuss a little bit about it when we continue this meeting for the end of the month.
That's fine. I mean, if you want to do the audit policy.
Yeah, the audit policy.
Then, now, or?
Let's do that now. What else we got going here? You sent it out. I have no problem with the policy. I accept the recommendation. This policy is a boilerplate from,
I changed some of it, you know, it was from VLCT, I changed some of the, you know, the names of some of the reports only because of software limitation.
Okay.
But, auditing, that's where you need to, you know.
That's where we need to make the
I,
decision.
yeah, and I would settle for nothing more than a 3-year audit. I think that's enough, and I think we can't afford more than that.
Yeah, what I'd like to look at anyways is take this list of villages and towns and add the population to see at what level population of people start having an audit. I mean, I think for 1,500 people, it's almost like they can all come in and look at the books if they want to. You know, it isn't like, I mean, where if you got 10, 20,000, that's a whole different story. Anyways, I think it'd be interesting to see if these numbers correlate with.
Yeah, well, it's all advertised, you can go to a site and you can get those numbers real quick.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
yeah, just to see what the difference is.
Well,
So you want to look that over and discuss it further?
Well, I think the only thing that I have any question on is the period that you do the auditing. Is it 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or never?
This is something that I think everybody's in agreement with, but we're also not in any huge hurry to actually adopt, is that correct? I mean,
I just want it in place before I.
yeah.
Right.
So if we were to adopt this in the next couple of months, because that would be good
There's
information.
gonna be many more that,
yeah,
Many more,
many more policies, so.
okay.
Right. No, this I think is excellent. This, I have
Yeah.
no problem with any of it. It's,
Okay.
So that's that, except you have an executive, something or other?
I just wanted to mention an old business too, that I've been in touch with Amy Gamble, who's from the Department of Transportation, about speed limits, and got more information than I ever
Wanted.
ever thought possible. Anyway, and she said not to be intimidated by it. So I just, I want to forward that on to folks, just to see. And I think we need to decide whether it's worth going through the process or we live with what we have.
Yeah.
right.
And we put those signs that you ordered in mothballs, I guess, or something. But, so I haven't had a chance to check out the references that she lists here. So let me forward it to folks and we can make a decision
Okay.
next time on that.
Any other old business?
Well, I just got something I'd like to bring up. I think it would be, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I think it'd be appropriate for us to welcome the new president of the college as a board. Maybe we can get on a better than we've been before.
Start on a good foot.
I'd like to draft a letter and then we could all sign it to.
Great
just
idea.
Welcome her to the community and making sure she feels welcome to bring any
And a part of the community.
any problems they have up to the trustees and I'm.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll draft something
good.
so next time.
And then we can have that, or we can have the door mail, or something to go sign.
Well, if we're continuing this.
All right, that's the other things. Okay, well, is there any more? Anything else?
We need to continue the meeting.
Yeah, so
Brief executive.
let's have a continuation and a brief executive. It has to, for what? It has to be personnel, is that what you said? Okay. Entertain a motion to go
I have something
into executive session.
So
We
moved.
do we need to continue the meeting before we go into executive?
Now you come out of executive session and then you continue.
Okay. But that will no longer be on.
I think this is
That's fine.
Okay.
We made our intentions clear that we're going to continue this meeting. Until what date, anyway? We don't really know for sure,
Well, I
right?
don't know.
You'll have to let us
Still
know.
doing, so.
Are you gonna be around the rest of this week?
Maybe we can go back in time and solve all the problems.
Am I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I need your signature on these back roads. And I don't have a
Yeah, just call me, or whatever.
So Gail, you don't.
So, a motion,
So moved.
for executive,
Second.
second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.